And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales After Dark. See, there's a few people already been here waiting, so that's pretty cool. Tonight's going to be a interesting show. I've got a few pro wrestling fans in here, so I'm sure we'll not talk about just paranormal stuff. I'm sure we're going to talk about some body slams and some suplexes and all sorts of fun stuff tonight. But before we bring everyone on, just want to say thanks to everyone out there watching. Thanks for everyone listening. It's been a pleasure. And I do have some things I want to talk about before we jump into this. There is some cool things going on here in the world of Tinfoil Tales. Tomorrow I'll be in Indianapolis for some first time I've been nominated for something for the Best Podcast Award. So I'm a top 3 finalist, so I'm a little honored about that. So we'll see what happens. I'll make an announcement if I end up winning. If I do win, it'll be pretty cool, so I don't ever win anything in life, so be a little bit cool. But the Patreon's going pretty well now. I know there's some people out there that's listening and watching along that's part of it, so I want to say thanks to everyone that's out there that's a part of the Patreon. And anyone out there listening, if you're just a subscriber, a listener, whatever, I appreciate all you guys. Tonight, though, we're going to be joined by the guys from Sasqwatchers, which I think they've now changed their name to the Watchers because they have some new announcements to talk about. But I will bring on Drew and JC here in a second. I just want to say thanks for them for coming on here and talking with me tonight. And then we got our guest Bryce we'll bring on here in a little bit too. But we're going to go ahead and get this shit started, so...
Hello. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Drew looks like he's glitching out of the stratosphere here.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm JC, formerly of Sasqwatchers, also Drew. Okay, Drew says Sasqwatchers, so now we have a paradox going on here. But we have a lot of cool things coming up. I think we're rebranding a little bit, expanding our topics, and appreciate everyone joining. Brandon, as always, it's been awesome talking to you. I know Drew's been conversing with you almost every single day since we talked to you the last time.
Yeah.
And I think that this live is beating our episode that we recorded with you.
Yeah.
Like a month ago. So...
Drew had said that the episode you guys recorded with me, like the first part of it has like the most Facebook or the most YouTube watches or something on it, which I think is strange because I don't even get that many on my own.
It did. It did. It was a very popular episode. And our YouTube we get a lot more audio views or audio listens than we do YouTube views. But that one kind of took off. So appreciate your presence on that episode.
I'm glad I could help, I guess, and I don't know how I managed it because I wish I could help my own podcast, but it doesn't seem to happen for me. I go on someone else's show and they get more people listening to me on that one episode than I do on my own show. But well, hopefully Drew can get his internet issues worked out.
Yeah, he's having issues. He lives in the middle of nowhere, so
That's no excuse. So do I.
Yeah, I take it up with him when he gets on.
Nah, it's all good. Mine happened to me a while back. I was trying to interview someone and we were using video. And I was like, we have to turn the video off. But like, for some reason, my internet's being stupid and it doesn't want to allow me to talk to people on video.
Yeah.
Which I usually don't do video interviews anyways. But when I have been doing it, I've been putting them up on the Patreon. And I don't know if anyone actually watches. I've never actually heard from anyone on the Patreon. So, I mean, they're joining and subscribing, but I haven't really heard any feedback from anyone. So hopefully they enjoy what's going on there. But
post in the chat if you have that experience through the Patreon.
Yeah, if anyone out there is a member of the Patreon, let me know. I'll give you a shout out here on the screen. But we're going to go ahead and bring Bryce on. Bryce has some stuff he wants to talk about. And like I said, we're all wrestling fans, so I'm sure we'll talk about some current wrestling events too.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing, man. How you guys doing tonight?
I was watching the NFL draft because I'm into that type of shit too. And now I'm down here with you guys. So I don't even know who my Colts are going to pick. I'll be checking my phone here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I haven't even looked yet. I'm a Bears fan. Did the Bears take Caleb Williams?
Oh, yeah, they did.
I figured they were going to.
That was kind of a given.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure I'm sold on the dude personally, but.
No. I mean, I'm sure we'll get him. It'll be like whenever they got Trubisky. You know, that was the name everybody was saying. And then Patrick Mahomes ended up being God. So.
Right. But, well, you want to let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name's Bryce. I am one of the hosts of the Strips Turnbuckle podcast. It's a wrestling podcast. And when I was 9 years old, I had a encounter with the Hat Man. So if you guys want, I can get going into that here in just a second.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, this all started back in 1993 in Heron, Illinois. And I was going to my first sleepover. And it was my buddy Thomas. He just lived like 3 or 4 houses down from me. And it was raining that evening. It was pretty late. One cool thing about Thomas's house was, keep in mind, this was in 93. His parents had satellite. So they had like the giant satellite dish in the backyard, you know, but it was like, hey, we could watch Sci-Fi Channel. So, you know, that's what we were doing. And so it was probably, his parents were already in bed asleep. So it was probably every bit of 11 o'clock, I'd say 11:30 maybe. And we were watching TV and it's raining outside, you know, there's a storm going, nothing crazy, like just like a regular thunderstorm. And all of a sudden, Thomas is just like, hey, do you see that out the window? And I was like, what? I looked over and the next door neighbor's house, Thomas's house kind of set a little bit back from that. So we could see going like up their steps to their front door. And we saw what we thought was just this guy trying to open the screen door to get into their house. But keep in mind, you know, it's super late, storming, all that. So we were kind of watching them for a little bit. And then we just was like, okay, this is weird. You know, like, you know, he was debating telling his parents. We didn't do that. We just kind of went back to minding our own business, watching TV. Then it wasn't maybe 3 minutes. And we started kind of getting this feeling like, you know, we're being watched. And I look over and right there in the window, which like with his house and the neighbor's house, there was, you walk into his house, you're in the living room, and to the right facing the neighbor's house was this great big living room window, and the driveway separated the houses. So standing in the driveway, but like closest to the window side of the driveway, was that guy, except that once we saw him, this guy was not a guy. It was solid black, had what looked like a trench coat with the lapel up, wearing a hat that was slightly cocked a little bit, like a fedora. To me, it reminded me a lot of like, like a 1940s detective or a gangster or something like that, like how they dressed back then, and then like if they wore a trench coat or something over it with like the lapels up, reminded me of that. So we're sitting there, and I mean, it's pretty scary, right? Because you're not expecting to see this right here. And then one thing I noticed was the whole face, it was just black, just darkness. There was nothing there. No eyes, mouth, nothing that I saw. And I haven't talked to Thomas since 7th grade whenever I moved from here. And so I have no idea what, any details he would remember. But so we're sitting there, we're looking at this thing, and we, we're getting freaked out. So we go, there's his couch. His couch just kind of set basically closer to the TV than it did the wall by the front door, if that makes sense, in the living room, And we got on the side of it, and we're kind of trying to hide from it, right? Because we didn't know what was going on. We were scared to death. So we wait a little bit. We peek over the couch arm, the arm of the couch. It's gone. Okay. So we get back, we sit back, get back to watching TV, just kind of trying to chill out. It wasn't a minute and a half, 2 minutes probably. And we heard his screen door to his porch open up. Now, his porch, the way that it was, like the way it would be for his house, was you went up these like 3 concrete steps that they kind of, I don't know if they were off-centered or what, but they kind of wobbled whenever you walked up them. And you walk into the walk into the porch, sorry. And it was a enclosed porch, full of windows and all that, but the carpet in it was that like late 80s, early 90s AstroTurf carpet. You know what I'm talking about, like the green plastic frilly stuff.
Yeah.
So, we heard it walk into there, and then next thing we know, his front door had a small window like in it at the top. It was I don't know, it's probably about like that, and about that wide, I'd say. And we saw it just standing there looking in. And of course, it sees us. We see it. We get nervous. We get, scared. So again, we dive behind the couch trying to hide from it. And it was just like the whole time, it never tried to open the front door. And I don't know if the front door was locked or not. I'm going to assume it was. But then again, who knows? Because the screen door wasn't locked. But it just, like, the more I've thought about it and everything, I don't know what that thing wanted. But I know that whatever it was at least, at the very least, into scaring people. Because, like, I was on another show and told this encounter, and this is only the second time I've told it on a show. And it was just, I don't know, like I kind of feel like it, because I've had a lot of paranormal experiences since, and like seeing UFOs, things like that. So to me, and I could be wrong on this, but this is just how I feel. I feel like either it's marked me, or like, for not to sound like Twilight, but like imprinted or something to, like, kind of like lift the veil kind of deal. And I don't know, but that's just how it's been since. But I was talking to some people about it, and they were thinking that maybe that we were giving it what it needed by being scared, like it was feeding off the fear. So I don't know. I mean, have you guys heard anything like that? Because I know a lot of times when people have Hat Man encounters, it's usually in the room with them, and like this one I heard, this guy woke up and there was the Hat Man standing at the edge of his bed with a girl holding a dead bird.
And that's weird.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd do if I woke up and saw that. I know some people have, been physically assaulted by a Hat Man. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it was because we were kids or what, but I do know that, like, when it was raining and we were looking at this thing out the window in the driveway when it was standing there, it was so weird because it was like the water was hitting it, but it did not look wet. Like, it did not look like I don't know. It's just, it was like it was hitting it and just going off of it. It was not soaking into it at all. And like I said, this thing was darker than dark. It was nighttime. It was storming. Yeah, you could see it better if lightning flashed, but you could still see it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I don't know. It's just, it's messed with me over the years and stuff, like, because we don't, I mean, I say we, me, you just don't know what it really wanted that night, because it was trying to get into the neighbor's house first, and they were a Pentecostal family. It was a guy and his wife, and they had 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. And one of the daughters was my age, because we were in the same class. I can't remember her name right now. I think it was Mindy or something. But they also ran a daycare there during the daytime. So, I mean, I don't know. And I mean, also, I hate to be like this and hate to sound like this, but whenever you're a kid, yeah, they seemed like really nice people. Who knows if they were? I don't know. I ain't trying to slander nobody, though. I just, you got to keep all options open on that, because you just don't know. So,
now, were you able to see, like, was it somewhat solid or translucent enough to where it looked like a shadow?
No, this thing was solid. This was solid. You could not see through it.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, when they report them, they're solid, but they still say they look more like a shadow type person.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was solid, but it was solid black. I mean, so
you didn't see like actual facial features or anything about it.
No, I didn't see any of that.
See, the one time that I had that weird dream, I say dream, this was 20-something years ago. I still lived in my parents' house, and in my dream, my throat was like burning and scratching or whatever, and I opened my eyes and I saw, I call it the cowboy, was leaning over me, and I felt like I could sleep paralysis or whatever. I couldn't move, and then finally it disappeared, and I could get up, but my throat still hurt, and I went and got water and took a drink, and I just thought because my throat hurt, my mind automatically made up this dream as to why my throat was hurting. I never even heard of Hat Man until like a couple of years ago.
That's how it was with me. I didn't know anything about Hat Man, and then is it okay to mention a different podcast on here?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Okay, cool. I was listening to the Hollow Sky podcast, and they were doing an episode about the Hat Man, and I was like, what the heck's the Hat Man? And they posted like a picture advertising for the episode, and it was a picture that this person that they were interviewing had sent in, and it was like this person's family, like a mom, grandma, maybe sisters or something like that. And right behind the grandma was this black, completely black, shadowy guy, guy with a hat on, that as soon as I saw it, boom, that memory came back of whenever I was 9. And I was like, wait, I've seen that, and it's just like, that's the Hat Man. So that was whenever I was able to put a name with what I saw, because I had no clue, whenever I was a kid. And then seeing that, it just brought it all back.
Yeah. I always said it looked like a cowboy because the hat that I saw looked like a cowboy hat. And I've mentioned this on another episode, but do you guys remember that the Bruce Campbell movie where he played Elvis, Bubba Hotep?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
That was about the time frame when that movie came out. I just bought the DVD, so however many years ago that was, and I just watched it.
2009, I think.
That was before that.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, I want to say it was
it was early 2000s. I still lived at my parents'.
maybe
I, hadn't li-
03.
I haven't lived in my parents' house in 20 years. So, but yeah,
And Ossie Davis is JFK.
yeah,
That's a good sign.
old
Hey, Paul.
Big Show reference.
Yes, 2002 actually. So I saw it late. I think I saw it when I first went to college. That would have been 2009.
Yeah, well, I just bought that movie, and it was about the same time frame. I don't remember if it was the same night that I watched it and I had that dream or the I just figured it was because I had that weird dream about this ancient Bubba Hotep mummy trying to suck souls out of someone's asshole that I had this weird dream. But no, that was an interesting movie for anyone out there that's never seen it. Check out Bubba Hotep. It's definitely a good watch.
Yeah.
But back to the Hat Man thing, though. That's I have no idea. Like, it's strange that, again, I never heard of it. Same thing with me. Like, it was the Hollow Sky podcast was the first time I'd ever heard about Hat Man.
Yeah.
Fun story. Tonight's the first time I've heard about the Hat Man.
Oh, really?
I'm just finding out right now.
I have an episode, like episode 20 something, that's I interviewed someone from England that had a Hat Man and sleep paralysis thing. It seems to be, it kind of goes hand in hand is when you see these Hat Men, you also wake up and like your body's paralyzed, you can't move.
Yeah, sounds like Drew. Drew knows about that. Okay, see you, Drew.
The Hat Man must have got him.
It got him. No, I mean, like, I've heard of like shadow figures and like tales, you know, things like Indrid Cold or like the potential FBI that follows up like certain events, and they were always cold figures and stuff. But the Hat Man's a new one for me. Like, we're saying that this is like a shadow creature almost, that it was solid but shadowy.
Yeah.
Had a fedora. So it's like,
yeah, and just gauging like where it was standing in the window and everything. Like, if I was to be standing out in the driveway, I would say it was probably 6'1".
oh, wow.
And as far as like shoulder width and all that, like your average guy.
Yeah. Not your Pentecostal neighbors.
Yeah, no. no. That dude was like 6'5" and 300 pounds.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah.
So it makes me think outside of like a ghost of Reddit because of the fedora. Right. So we're going into like weird territory here now. How far deep do we want to go? Because what if this is time travel? What if it's somebody from outside of a different dimension? I'm just throwing ideas out here.
It's very possible.
Have you? And you've not experienced anything similar since then, or?
Oh yeah. No, I've seen shadow people. I've had ghost encounters. I've seen a UFO. Like Brandon had a dream whenever I was 11. I had a dream, and it was possibly an abduction. So I'm not really sure. Don't want to do the regressive hypnosis thing, you know.
Well, you
don't want to Betty and Barney Hill it.
You came to the wrong stream, because that's what we're doing here.
Well, I mean, you never know. I'll tell it, but it's out there. But yeah, it's man. So okay. So one story, it's kind of funny with this shadow entity I found in my house. I was literally just turning all the lights off, getting ready to go to bed. And I was turning the light off in the dining room, and I was getting ready to walk into the living room and go to my bedroom. And I like that, Ryan. I'll take that.
We're joined by Braun Strowman tonight.
Yes. I like that. Get these hands. But I noticed, like, I saw movement coming out of my peripheral, and I look over and I can see this shadowy figure, like almost like it's like, oh God, let me get by before he sees me, and goes right by me. And my kids' shoes were like sitting out by the front door. And I literally heard this thing trip over one of the shoes. I don't know. That kind of freaked me out though. I thought funny. I kind of at the time I thought to myself, dumbass. And then I'm like, wait a second. Wait a second. That tripped over the shoe. Like, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I still don't know why, but I found that. And then I got a pretty good ghost story if you want to hear that.
Of course.
All right. So I had just started working at the job I currently work at. So this was 17 years ago. The guy who was training me also DJ'd at a bar in Benton, Illinois. And what's it say? That was me. Well, it's on the third shelf, Ryan. And he was like, hey man, when we get off work, you ought to stop by and, I'll buy you a beer and everything. I'm like, all right, cool. So got off work, took a shower, headed down there. And whenever I got there, I had to pee. So I walked in the place, saw where he was set up DJing, ran over, asked him where the bathroom was. And he told me, it's back there by the bar. And he's like, it's just a one-person bathroom, so there might be a line. Okay. So I get down there, and there's this old biker guy. And, I mean, wasn't necessarily weird to see an old biker at this bar because it was kind of a rough bar anyways. And so I walk up there, and the bathroom door's closed. This guy's standing there, and I was just like, hey, how's it going? And he just kind of looked at me, and then he said, fine. And then I'm just like, but this is just weird because he was just like, like I said, he just said fine. He just kind of kept looking at me, and then it was just kind of like just looking. And I was just like, okay, this is weird. So I'm standing there. Person comes out of the bathroom. He looks at me, and I'm like, oh no, man, you were first. Go ahead. Go ahead. So he goes into the bathroom, but he doesn't like close the door all the way. He just kind of shuts it too. And this other guy comes up, and he goes to open the door. And I was like, oh, there's a guy in there. And then after he's done, then it's me, then it's you. So we're sitting there shooting the shit. And I'm keeping an eye on the door the whole time, though, because I really got to piss. And this guy's finally like, screw it. I'm just going to pee in the sink. I don't care. He opens the door. There's nobody in there. The only way to get out of the bathroom was the same way you went in, through that one door. And I had my eye on that the whole time. So it was like right then and there, I was like, what the fuck? And then so I go do my business, go get a beer, go talk to Sean. I'm like, hey man, this is going to sound pretty wild, but you ever heard anybody say anything about seeing a ghost here? And I mean, he just dead stare, looked right at me and said what it looked like. And I described it to him. And he said, he was like, dude, he was like, about a week or so ago, one of the bartenders described that, saw this old biker guy standing back there by the back door. It was like a fire exit. And she said, sorry, we're closed. You can't be in here right now. And the thing just disappeared right in front of her. So, yeah. I don't know, who it could have been or, why they were in that general area. But, I mean, I have my theories on it because that place, it's had a rough history there. So, I mean,
It's the old piss ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Paul says my sleep paralysis was when I was 9. It was a typical abduction scenario. Couldn't move, speak, etc. Eyes were movable. I saw these gleaming eyes on my closet door, not the typical grays.
Yeah.
I'm very curious now about this.
Yeah, that's my buddy Paul.
was-
He's been through some stuff. He's had some.
I was going to go that direction, ask you if you'd ever suffered from sleep paralysis, Bryce. I think Drew might have some insight because Drew also has suffered from sleep paralysis quite heavily the last 10 or so years.
Not that I have noticed. I have had some wild dreams sometimes, which kind of makes me wonder, but I've never woken up with anything sitting on my chest or old hag or any of that stuff.
I know they think sleep paralysis, they call it the sleep demon, and I've heard some other terms about it too, like the succubus. They claim that's where the comes out there and she's sitting on you and you can't move.
Yeah.
My old band actually had a song called The Thralls of Lilith. Is about a succubus, so I'm just going to throw that out there because I realized that we had a song called Skinwalker, we had a song about a dog man, we had a song about a succubus, we had songs about all sorts of stuff, and this was before I was doing this podcast, so I've always been fascinated with strange shit. But when it comes to stuff like this, like, where do the stories originate from? You know, who made up the legend that there is a sleep paralysis demon, like, that comes and sits on your chest and sucks some of your life out? That's why you can't move. Like, somewhere it had to have originated. Just because someone suffered from sleep paralysis, they automatically wrote it up as saying it was a demon sitting on them. Like,
if you're able to hear me now, because I've been plagued with terrible issues, I do have some insight on that.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, well, so first of all, apologies. My MacBook died, and I'm on an older, crappier laptop that's struggling to keep up. But I actually have had sleep paralysis since I was a child. The first instance that I can recall, I was kindergarten-ish. And because of that, when I was in college, I did every single paper that I could write about sleep paralysis. That I took that opportunity and I did it. And all over the world, actually, I always call it, this is like the dragon effect, because every culture, no matter how ancient and distant from one another, had a dragon in their culture. All of these cultures also have sleep paralysis demons. Whether or not it is something that's actually occurring, or if it's something that's going on in our psyche, the brain chemistry, this is something that throughout history, documented history, people have just experienced. There are instances in Italy, hundreds and hundreds of years ago that are documented. At the same time, there are instances of this being described in Japanese literature as well. So I find myself somewhere in the middle on this, and I think that there's something a little sinister going on. I think that there are actual things at play. I don't buy that the body becomes stressed and that we suddenly are, attacked by demons at night when we're asleep. But as far as it originating, it goes back as far back as we've been documenting history.
Yeah, there's been reports for years. That's where I said, where did it originate from, where they come up with the demon thing? Just because I feel like everything in old times were always considered demons. And even in today's standards, a lot of people want to say everything's demons, but that's neither here nor there. It's, I don't know the exact word how to say it, but like, it's always been something that makes you wonder for sure, though, like, where did everything originate from? Like, I suffer from sleep paralysis a lot. I don't think anything about it. I just always say I'm sleeping. And like, I'm still half asleep. Like, this happened a couple of weeks ago. Like, I was laying in bed and I felt like I couldn't move, and then I jerk and I'm awake. It's always just wrote it off as nothing more than being asleep and awake. Like, you're on the verge of it. But
I have the on the verge experiences where you kick yourself out, but I think the thing like sleep paralysis, things like Drew's talking about, like unfortunately, I'd witnessed Drew in sleep paralysis before, maybe 10 years ago, and it was not a kick awake type of thing. It was like sound like a dying goat laying on the Grant's living room floor. kind of
Yeah.
experience.
I think,
And then
I think
we're all like throwing our shoes at them while this is happening.
Yeah, I always need somebody to kind of shake me out of it. It's almost like your body starts to seize. And I have had studies done to see if I was having seizures in my sleep. I think there are levels to it, and you'll have that, kind of kick yourself awake scenario. And I think that's where a lot of people are then willing to write it off as something chemical, like something it's chemically occurring. And if do some research on it, everybody always says that it is a a serotonin influx in your brain that causes this. And there are studies obviously done that show that serotonin builds up while this is occurring. But those same studies don't offer a reason for it. So some people are actually experiencing something chemical going on in their brain, but there is no reason for it to occur. It's an anomaly still. It is unknown. So I understand why some people adhere to this is just strictly something that happens, and if you're stressed or you're not sleeping properly, it's easy to write it off as that. But having experienced what I've experienced throughout my life, it is an ever changing situation. The first time it happened, obviously I was a child, I had no idea what was going on. But as I've grown and in elementary school into adulthood, there are things that align with it. And it started out with dreams of Freddy Krueger, because I was a kindergartner whose favorite movie was A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and I watched it religiously, and the tape broke because of how often I watched it. So these would start to occur with dreams of Freddy Krueger. And then as I got older, that subsided, and it would turn into other things. For a while, when it was happening, I was convinced that my cat was laying on me, because I had a cat that would kind of like rest on my shoulder all the time. And so it would happen, I couldn't move, and my brain would kind of try to convince me that this was happening. Well, that happened all the way up until my cat died at like 19 years old. And after that, I started to see shadows. And it was never a shadow person. I've never seen an actual person, but like shadows kind of floating above, always on the ceiling over top of me. And that happened for a couple of years. And then it evolved further. I started to have these dreams of this house, and I would always enter this house, and I could always tell that something was going on in the dream. Like I wasn't supposed to be here. I would always find myself in the basement, and it's the same house, same interior every single time. I could draw you this house at this point. I could draw you this basement, the steps. There's a door, and I just know there's something sinister on the other side of that door. And this happens every single time. And then eventually this entity comes out of that door, and it's on top of me, and it's attacking me. And that's when my physical body is going through this state of paralysis. And JC described it as a dying goat. And that's exactly how I describe it. And my wife would say the same thing. It's the only thing that can happen as far as movement goes is like, I'm trying to scream. I'm trying to in this situation, I'm trying to fight back, but the body doesn't move. And like the tongue doesn't move. And it literally is like, just like an echoey sound of like a dying goat. That's the literally best way to describe it. And
we all sleep in the same bed, so I know what it sounds like.
Right. And so I've experienced this stuff in an evolutionary state where it began one way, changed drastically into another thing, and then over the years has turned into this, and it has kind of settled, and it always comes back to this. One time I was carried, and this one wasn't so much a dream, this was more of the hallucination that comes with this, where you're in between the sleep and actual reality. I was carried through woods by a gray alien. That one always kind of stuck with me because it only happened once and it was vastly different than all of the other ones that ever occurred to me. So I have this, the demon or the hag or witch, some people describe it, pretty consistently at this point, but it didn't start like that. It started with just regular nightmares that led to me kind of consciously realizing this isn't typical and this doesn't happen to other people when they're asleep, to this weird couple of year period where my cat was on me. And I've always wondered if if there's actually something like nefarious happening when this is occurring. Was my cat somehow protecting me from all of this crazier, scarier stuff that started to happen after she died?
I believe that.
That's something that I've kind of considered and have been trying to research a little bit, because it got vastly different and much scarier after the cat died.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you find out about that, because that's what it sounds like. And I mean, like, if you
Yeah,
remember the movie Sleepwalkers, the evil entities, those cat people, they did not like the cat because the cat could see them and all that stuff. So kind of keeping them at bay and whatnot. So, I mean, there might be a connection there.
yeah, there are
Very
cultures as well that that say that cats are protectors against the underworld. I believe there are some cultures in the Middle East, and I might just be confusing it with The Mummy with Brendan Fraser talking about this, but I do recall seeing that cats are, at least in some cultures, protectors.
In Persian culture, cats were almost, I don't want to say they were worshipped like gods, but they were pretty high up on the chain
Yeah.
in there. So you're right. And in Egyptian culture as well, Iraqi culture, all of Persia there in the Middle East.
Yeah. There was one thing you said, Drew, that I really caught my ear. How you talking about in your dream you'll keep going back to the same place. I've had dreams like that, but instead of it being like this house, it's more of this street in a town. But it's very weird because it's almost like this is going to sound weird on how I'm describing this, but just kind of go with me on it. It's like it's just a line, like the whole town is just a line, like it's just like a street view, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And like, it's always, whenever I have these dreams or whatever they are, that's where it's always at. And it's almost always like, as soon as I realize where I'm at, it's just like, oh God, here we go again,
Yeah.
And like you said, there's something just around that corner, just behind that door. And from what I can remember, I haven't seen it yet, but I've definitely felt it. So whenever you said that, that really got my attention really good, because it was like, whoa, I've had that. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
and
Maybe this whole sleep paralysis thing, maybe I have had experiences with it and just don't realize it. So
yeah, if you pay closer attention when that occurs from now on, see how often it happens, see how your body reacts when it does happen. It's a very traumatic thing to go through. I consistently need help waking up out of it. It causes anxiety. I think it was occurring last night, and then my son woke me up, and he wanted me to grab him some water at 2 a.m. And so, right as it was about to occur, it was stopped, but my heart was still going about 200 beats. Like, it was crazy. and I had to like calm myself down, and I obviously didn't want to frighten him in any way, so I kept my composure, got him his bottle of water, and it took all the way up until heading back into bed before my heart rate had kind of went back down. So it's something that your body will tell you that something is happening. You just tune into it, and yeah, it happens like this with everyone who experiences this too. It always is this recurring thing, and I think that's what, for me at least, lends that credence to there's something else happening here. And I can't say that, I'm being attacked by a demon every night that I go to sleep, but
Right.
I am a person who is open to a lot of experimentation, in the sense that I spent many nights trying to have out of body experiences. I had one night where I sounds crazy, but I feel very strongly that I accomplished that. And there's something else. There's something going on where maybe our bodies are kind of just a vessel, and we're stepping out of it for a minute. And then you have this astral realm, and some people always talk about how everything inside of that realm is just this beautiful, peaceful area. But others who I respect, such as Preston Bennett, say that there are some things on the other side that, if you go too far, will start to mess with you and grab you. So, I mean, I have zero answers, but I do think that there is a difference between being stressed or having some trauma that will then, resonate while you're at rest, versus this kind of sleep paralysis that so many people the world over experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and two, I mean, that also sounds a lot like, in our sleep, we astral project. And you got to be careful with that, because if that is happening and you're unaware of it, and like you said, you get too far out there and things start messing with you, I mean, if they cut your silver cord, that's it. You're gone, So that's one of the things you got to keep in mind if people want to try to do that. I have done it, not purposely, just like you, in a dream, and then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, this, and then, yeah, it can be freaky. It can be really freaky. And, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm getting very annoyed because it's StreamYard. You're out there listening. You can kiss my ass, because every other live stream continues to screw up. So I've been getting people telling me that it's screwing up on their end, and it's not even streaming on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw somebody said that earlier in the chat.
I'd got a notification saying that there is an error. Please stop the live stream. No, I'm already in the middle of it. I'm not going to stop it now.
Yeah.
So why do I have to pay for this service when you can't help do it? Like,
it's crazy though. I don't think I have had anything like that. I mean, we don't stream live too often. We keep it pretty kind of like you.
Dude,
do,
our stream hasn't streamed correctly to Facebook in like 6 months.
Oh, really? So maybe that's a Facebook thing.
It is not. Go look. It never streams to Facebook, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I brought it up one time, but nobody wanted to address it. So
I keep trying to post the video from YouTube, and it doesn't show us in it. It just shows the background. It doesn't show anything about us. So anyone that sees it's not going to see that it's live. They're just like, oh, it's a video, and they just ignore it.
That's the best part, just the background.
Yeah. Well, I guess if people watched on YouTube can hear us. The comments say they can hear us. But no, the last 2 or 3 times I've tried to live stream and it's supposed to go to Facebook, it keeps saying there is an error with the Facebook stream. Please stop the live stream. No. Like, I'm paying money for this service. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Otherwise,
stream.
Otherwise, give me the free account, because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Yeah. Work or get bent.
Jeez. Yeah.
Well, there is some Other things we can jump into. I know there's been some weird stuff going around here lately when it comes to all sorts of stuff. But with you guys changing up to the Watchers podcast, you want to talk a little bit about that? Or the Watchers Network?
Yeah, sure. You guys were talking about that when I first started to run into my computer issues. So basically
good start to the Watchers, by the way.
Yeah. The main idea behind it is that Sasqwatchers is going to stay the same. It's still Sasqwatchers, and we're still kicking on that. But we want to branch out. We want to do some other things. We've hit a stride, in my opinion, and we just enjoy doing this. So we came up with this idea that we are the Watchers. We are the ones who watch, all kinds of taglines. Who watches the Watchers? Kind of take that from the Watchmen. But if you're familiar with I think they are the Watchers in Marvel Comics, where they're kind of out in the universe and they're just watching everything happen. It's kind of what we're going for here. And that way it branches out so that we can do a podcast on just about anything. And we're jumping in with crime and mystery as our next one, but there will absolutely be, the Wrestling Watchers podcast, and we're going to do Game Watchers podcast, so we can do tech and video game stuff. And basically anything we want to talk about, we're going to just throw it next to the word Watchers, and we're just going to create a whole bunch of content based on that. And I see that mock sign behind you, Bryce. So
first thing I saw when I came in here.
We're all very much long-term wrestling fans. I myself actually did it for a little bit until my neck injury sidelined me and destroyed my life. But
I referee for death matches, so I can only imagine.
I trained that.
By the way, it seems like I'm always with Drew during the downturns in his life. His sleep paralysis, the wrestling incident. I was there when he tried out. I must be the lowest common denominator in all of this.
JC drove me to my tryout, and it was a blast. And I had 6 months of following and fulfilling that dream. And my neck injury didn't even come from wrestling. I was hit by a coal truck, and it took until literally last year before I had my corrective surgery on it. So I went, about 6 or 7 years with a terrible neck.
Yeah, go back in our log books and watch our older videos from October, November. He has this neck brace on that he tries to hide with a zip up.
Yeah,
and he's sitting here. He's sitting here like this with it up to his neck. Nobody notices.
The first 6 weeks of the show, I have a neck brace on in every video. And we recorded, I think, the day I got out of the hospital because I had to stay there. It wasn't an outpatient thing where
we did.
So I went in for surgery on Monday. I think I came home on Wednesday and we recorded.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of the Watchers, and it's a thing where it just allows us to branch out and do a lot more. But we'll keep that Sasqwatchers flair that everybody seems to like.
I think it was a lot of because we're interested in all kinds of different topics, and when you have a paranormal show, people only want to hear about that person that you're talking to, that that paranormal subject. But we want to talk about a lot of stuff. And we don't want to be beholden to just paranormal. We want to talk about pro wrestling. We want to talk about music, video games. On the side, I have another podcast that I'm part of. It's a technology podcast. We talk about gaming and retro tech on there. So maybe we'll blend that all together and it'll just become this monstrosity called the Watchers.
Well, I'll tell you that our first two non-paranormal guests that I have lined up are actually pretty exciting for me. We're going to do We have someone who runs a Facebook group that has thousands and thousands of internet sleuths that all work together. And she was in the HBO, I want to say, documentary. They called him Mostly Harmless. And yeah, I reached out to her because when watching that documentary, she stood out as just this larger than life character. So she's going to be our first guest, and after that, we have some pred hunters, like from a local group out where I live, that are out doing the predator hunting, where they're catching all of these people who are trying to hook up with kids and stuff. So just like a vastly different kind of guest each week.
And funny enough, Drew is actually the first person on that episode of Pred Hunters.
That's how I met him.
Now, I'm going to make a stupid bad dad joke here for you, but you're saying you're doing everything with watchers attached to it. Do not do a weight loss one and exercise one and call it Weight Watchers, because you might get sued.
Yeah, I'm ready for a cease and desist.
I actually had one of those before. It was from Comcast.
Really?
It was from Comcast in 2010 because I was downloading videos illegally.
Yeah.
And I got the anti-piracy cease and desist order, pay like a $200,000 fine to face 5 years in penalty fee or prison or whatever. I was like, all right, I didn't mean to download it. It was an accident.
Yeah, fun fact, they base that off your IP address. So like if you just spoof your IP address through VPN or another method, they can't prove it's you.
Yeah. This was, like I said, back then, and I forget what the video, I think it was actually Iron Man 2. It was still in theaters, so I don't know how they're supposed to.
Of all the movies to get busted for, that was the one.
It was
actually,
one of the worst ones.
That's when they started to crack down, guys, because Marvel was taking a hit on those. So that was actually something that was occurring right around when that movie came out, actually. So I think your memory is correct.
Yeah. That was the one movie that I said, I ain't paying to go see this shit. I'm going to watch it from home. And then a few days later, I get an email from Comcast.
Hey, we saw you watching that.
Well,
Why did you
some of the
watch
other
that?
stuff I've watched?
Good old
Yeah,
pirate.
where were you last night?
You don't want to know the other weird
At
stuff
the
I was
movies?
watching. I did just go to the movies 2 weeks ago. We went and seen Civil War. I was like, I'm interested in this movie because everyone wants to talk about it when they dabble into the politics or whatever. They claim see it in theaters here, then see it in real life on November 6th. That was a tagline that I'd seen someone posted. I was like, what?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm very excited to. And I may or may not be receiving one of those letters after watching it.
I'm going to be 100% honest that I didn't think it was that great. It was all right, but it wasn't.
I've heard that. I've heard
a few people say that too. I took my kids and went and saw the new Godzilla movie a couple weeks ago. It was pretty good.
He's up here behind me.
Yeah. It was pretty good. If Ryan's still in the chat, I'm sure he's already seen it by now. He's a pretty big Godzilla fan, but it was pretty good. I can't help but the Scar King, like the bad guy, that's one of King Kong's kind.
Yeah.
To me, he looked more like a Bigfoot than he did one of the Kongs.
He looked more like orangutan-ish looking.
Yeah, like the orangutan-ish looking kind. And it's just
it's funny. I went to Walmart today because I was going to go buy one of the big Godzillas for myself to keep in the box, and I told my 2-year-old I'd get him one. They were on clearance. I seen them 2 days ago, and I was waiting until I got paid today, and I was like, I'm gonna go get them. They only had one, so I was good dad, and I gave it to him. So I didn't get myself one, but they were $25, and they were marked down to $12.
Whoa!
Damn.
So I was like, well,
50%?
They had Scar King in there too, and they're not small. They're like the big. They're about tall thing. I think they're 11 inches tall. It says, but Yeah, they want $18 for Scar King. So I don't know why Godzilla was 12, but Scar King's 18. They're the same
Right?
size.
Probably a lot of them versus not as many made.
Go Godzilla.
Go Godzilla.
I saw that band play at this like town festival, you know.
Yep.
It was the Heron Fest back whenever I was in high school. It was like I think my sophomore year, and Blue
Little-
Oyster Cult was playing.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
They played in a town not too far from where I live a few years ago, and I actually went and watched them because, well, it's probably been about 10 years ago. But I do enjoy Blue Oyster Cult. Not because it's
My,
Godzilla, but
my
like,
mom loves Blue Oyster Cult. Let's get her on here.
Everybody's mom loves Blue Oyster Cult
Oh yeah.
if they're our age.
I'm 40 years old. I'm still in that version of I'm almost to their fan base.
Right? Yeah.
You got about
I'll be
22
40
years
into
still.
Don't fear the Reaper.
No. Classic.
Nowadays, it's don't fear the creeper that's living around the corner of you.
Yeah. Or the one in your sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no, there's all that stuff, but as I mentioned earlier, like there's some other things we can talk about. You guys talked about wrestling, this and that, but as far as stuff for Tinfoil Tales, this will come out before anything. I'm going to release this probably on Sunday, so we recorded it here on Thursday. Your guys' episode, I'm pretty sure, comes out tomorrow, so anyone that listens to it for the next couple days, and then Sunday they'll hear you guys again from the live stream episode. But
Whoops.
Call
people
it
keep
Washer Week.
People keep asking me, like how I'm getting so far ahead. I was like, I record almost every night. I mean, that's what I've been doing, but I plan on taking the summer off. So everyone that ends up listening to this and you want to come on Tinfoil Tales, just know it's probably not going to be till sometime in August before I start booking anyone else. Just because I've got everything scheduled for the next 2 months and I'm basically taking July off.
Yeah. If my buddy Paul is still in the chat, he needs to get a hold of you too, because he's got some good stuff.
I just got an email, and I don't want to say from who, but it's a bigger name in
Joe
the Bigfoot in the Bigfoot community.
Joe Biden.
That I'm gonna have to get scheduled, so I might make an exception for him. But yeah, we'll go out that way. But no, as far as what's going on, I'm checking my things here, and nothing's popping up for. Never mind. There was something I was going to talk about, but it's not in there. But no, tomorrow night I'm supposed to be going to this award show. It's strange that the podcast was nominated for, like, I submitted it, but I didn't think I'd ever hear from them. But then it's top 3 finalists for Best Paranormal Podcast at the Indie PopCon. It's like the Comic-Con of the travels around. All the dudes from the Lord of the Rings are supposed to be there, like Elijah Wood and the dude that plays Gollum. Andy Serkis and some of the other ones are there. There's like a lot of actors and stuff going to be there, which I can't get to mingle with them because I'm not paying to get in.
Yeah.
They claim I can go to the awards ceremony for free, but if I want to go and actually like talk to people or go through the actual convention, I have to have a ticket. I was like, okay, I'm just coming for the awards. If I win, cool. If I don't, cool. The fact that I was chosen to even be here is kind of cool for me. I'll just sit in the odd. I'll go get me some nice clothes. I'm not going to wear the banana shirt tomorrow, but...
You should.
Yeah, I would.
Speaking of shirts, why don't you stand up? Let them see the shirt you're rocking there, Bryce.
Got the Tinfoil Tales Dogman Edition t-shirt on.
Yeah. So that is available, and there's also this lovely Tinfoil Tales Sasquatch shirt available for anyone interested. Go to the show notes, and you will have a link to the store. I'm also going to be getting some printed, and I'll have them in stock for when I go and do these conventions. There's like 4 different conventions I'm doing this year. So I'll be at Bigfoots and Brews and Spirits 2 up in Dowagiac, Michigan in September.
Is that the one that Eric from Uncomfortable hosts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be at that one.
That's cool.
And then there's the first annual Bigfoot conference down in Nashville, Indiana. Like 2 weeks later, I'm going to be at that one. And then I'm going to be at the Paraunity 6 here in Miami County, which I've been there the last 2 years, but this year I'm supposed to be a speaker. And then I was asked to be at the Crawfordsville first annual paranormal convention in Crawfordsville, Indiana, and be a speaker there too. So I guess they're all going to hear my same interviews that I do for everyone else's podcast. They want to hear about my weird experience. It's like, well, I'll tell you about the damn thing that I almost ran over.
Yep.
So, someone's asked me recently, and I think I said it on your guys' podcast, Drew, about if I ever want to see it again. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna run that motherfucker over. It walks out in front of me.
Right.
Then take a picture.
If it walks out in front of me, he's asking for it at this rate, because if I'm driving my truck, he's getting splattered. And if he doesn't get splattered, I'm getting out and I'm going to get splattered, but at least I'll know for 2 seconds what it actually was. But
So I think we have Parapsychon coming up in here in Ohio, in Mansfield in May. It's like the middle of May. And I think Drew and I are planning on going to that one.
Yeah, we're just going to attend.
Yeah, we're just going to attend. We're just going to chill. We're going to get everybody's faces and, hey, look at us.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Mansfield is funny to me because years ago when I was doing band stuff, and it's probably been 15 years now, we played a show with a band, and I think they were named Messiah. The reason I remember this is because we played like metalcore, death metal, whatever you want to call it. And that's where the kids did all the crazy ninja kicks and stupid flips and whatever, like,
oh yeah, you
shit
got
out of
core
each other.
kicks in.
Yeah. Well, me
I
and my
love
buddy
beating those kids up at mosh pits.
I'm this guy that stands away from it with my arms crossed out towards the back, trying to mind my own business, and I got to do this stuff when someone's coming at me. Well, me and my guitar player were standing in the back, and the vocalist from this Messiah band, he does like a cartwheel, and then he's like punching the air, and then he like does a mule kick straight back. He kicked me right in the knee.
Ooh.
And my knee buckled backwards, and I dropped straight down to the ground. And my buddy thought he thought I was getting buck. He said for a second, because he thought I was like breakdancing or something. Get down there. Until I was like, no, dude, he just broke my fucking leg. But that band was from Mansfield, Ohio, or whatever. Because I was like, when you mentioned that, that's the first thing I thought of was like, oh, fucker. My knee's starting to hurt just thinking about it. No, those were the good old days of when people showed up to shows and tried to kill each other, I guess, and not in the sense of that. I've talked about it on our other podcast that we had, Dark Side of the Scene, that one of the last shows that my band played before the world got shut down was like third or fourth show before we stopped doing stuff. We played up in South Bend, Indiana, and we played first, but the next band played, and during their set, this dude, I don't know what happened. He basically like power bombed this random guy right on the floor.
Whoa.
Nice.
And we don't know if he died or not. The police came, they shut the show down. They took the dude out on a stretcher, and they shut the show down.
Holy shit.
We never heard what happened to him. We don't know if he lived or died or what. The police were looking for the guy that did, and everyone's like, oh, we don't know who it was. So I watched him sneak him out the back.
Oh,
it was definitely, it was Frankie from Amir for sure. It sounds like something Amir would do.
JC and I were at a show where I was power bombed after a stage dive. And
it was agnostic front. We saw
messed me up really bad.
Yeah, Drew you set yourself up for that power bomb though. Like you literally.
I did a moonsault off the stage, and it was after making eye contact with Vinny Stigma, and I was encouraged to do this by a guy who looked exactly like Charles Manson. And I think during
listen to Uncle Charlie.
During like mid moonsault, Mr. Manson was the one that actually grabbed me and then decided to slam me down.
Did he do the little dance thing afterwards like he did in that interview?
I was pretty concussed at that point. I can't even really remember too much after that.
Drew offered up his grandmother's house to the band, the
Yeah.
supporting band that was playing, and they somehow beat us back.
Well, not
to
somehow.
his
We stopped for food because
Well, we did.
we were
We-
little pieces of garbage kids.
Well, we
But-
also didn't eat, but we stopped for food. When we get back to his grandmother's house, and this band is just like drinking beer, watching the Late Show with his grandma.
That's awesome.
It was Ruiner and
Ruiner, yeah,
They
Ruiner.
quickly became one of my favorite bands. And you know, after their show, they're like, "Hey, we need a place to crash." And I was like, "You know what? My grandma has room on her." So I called my grandma and I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna have some people over tonight. Hope you don't mind." And she's like, "Okay, whatever." 'Cause at the time,
A four-piece hardcore band shows up.
Next thing you know, it's like a Bam
was a
Margera event.
9 people.
Yeah.
There were 9 people, and you know, it was fun. They beat us there. They got there, and that's JC and I. We stopped at like I can't remember.
Was it Denny?
Denny's or something. And
Everyone
you know,
stops at the Denny's after a show. That or Steak and Shake.
took our time getting back, and yeah, Ruiner's just there with my grandma.
That's awesome.
Real weird experience, but yeah, that's kind of the life.
We never stayed at anyone's place. Anytime I've ever been gone on band stuff, we always played at a show, and then I paid for a motel. Or we forked up money and paid for a motel because we wasn't trying to sleep on anyone's floor, because I'm that weird guy in the sense of I'm paranoid. It's like, what if these people are murderers?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to their house. We're not from around here. We don't know anything about these people. We get there, they rob us, steal all of our gear, and then send us off on sex trades or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Well, knowing Drew's grandma, she made them tea and lemonade and made them.
She was so nice and accommodating, right? And then they gave me a whole bunch of free merch the next day, and then, you know, say goodbye to them. She made them breakfast.
Yeah.
And the second they were gone, that's when she looked at me and she's like, "Why would you do that?" And started to lecture me. like, why would you do that to us? I was like, I told you I was having people over. Like, I prepared you. They didn't just show up.
Yeah.
I feel like most bands, though, if they show up and stay at someone's house, unless they're complete dickwads, they're going to be decent when they stay there, just because.
Yeah,
they were super decent.
Yeah. But
my first mosh pit was Pantera at Ozfest. We were seeing them at the amphitheater in St. Louis, Missouri, and me and my cousin, we were trying to get across the lawn area to where my dad and my stepmom were, and we got about halfway across, and then out comes Pantera, and next thing you know, all hell broke loose. It was a good time, though.
I'm not. It's funny. Will offend anyone that's a metalhead, but like I've never been a fan of Pantera. I just never was.
To be honest, not me either, really.
I don't know what it was, but like maybe I just didn't. It just never jived with me. Like I love death metal. I love metal. I love metal.
I'm a Megadeth guy. Like
I appreciate what they did or whatever, but like I never thought.
I can definitely see they're not for everybody. That's for sure.
No,
it's like me. I'm a big Black Label Society fan. A lot of people hate Zakk Wylde.
Yeah,
I've actually seen Chevelle, not intentionally, but
wait, Chevelle's good.
Yeah,
but I didn't go to see Chevelle. I forget who I actually went, but Chevelle.
What's the album? What's the album they have with like the UFO on it?
The only song I remember from them is like Seeing Red. I don't know the name of the song, but that's just a song
hold
I
on.
think of.
Chevelle albums. I'm using the internet. It's got like it's Sci-Fi Crimes. Sci-Fi Crimes, 2009. Sci-Fi Crimes. That's a good album.
Everyone's
I like
listening.
That song
like,
theirs, hats off to the bull.
They're like, what happened to Tinfoil Tales? They're talking about music stuff. This isn't his other podcast, is it?
Like, I'm a Breaking Benjamin fan. Like, I know it's funny, like Diary of Jane, right? But like, they're two dudes, two brothers doing their thing.
We also grew up in Pennsylvania though too, so it's kind of like,
well, we had a band.
It was part of our culture. Yeah, I mean, we tried to have a band. We took some photographs looking cool.
Yeah,
it's about as far as we got for our MySpace page.
I'm posting my own comments.
JC slowly. Wait, that's you.
So I said I'm posting my own comment.
Well, shit. Guys, I don't.
My buddy, my guitar player, actually messaged us earlier, and I know he's probably not going to listen or watch, but I'm going to talk about what he'd said in our old band chat. That today, in his work truck, they're driving around, and one of his coworkers had asked him about Five Finger Death Punch came on, and he asked him if he's, do you like this type of music? And if you know who we are and you know what we listen to, we're just like, he's like, no. He's like, oh, I thought you liked Screamo. He's like, nah. I was like, the fact that they were labeled Five Finger Death Punch Screamo in the first place is funny to me. But yeah, I despise that band. They're like,
my mother, who is 65 years old, thinks that is like the epitome of like hardcore metal. And she actually calls them Five Finger Discount. Like they're stealing.
Truth asked a
Abysmal
about
Dawn.
I've actually heard the name Abysmal Dawn, I think.
It does sound kind of familiar.
Hold on, I have to get this out of the way from Five Finger Death Discount.
In this moment. That's the one.
I actually,
that's
the chick singer. Yeah, I saw them back in 2007. They played at what was it, Mayhem Fest, and they were signing autographs for free at the FYE tent. And I got to meet them and stuff. They were pretty cool. They're got a funny story about them because I was at a Wednesday 13 show. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of him or not.
Yeah, he used to be Joey Georgeson's band for Murder Dolls.
Murder Dolls. Yeah, at Pops, which is like just on this side of the river from St. Louis, and all of a sudden, like on the ticket, it said Wednesday 13, and then it was just like local openers. So I'm sitting there, and I see In This Moment merch, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what are they doing here? It's not on the ticket that they're going to be here, which I was okay with until I found out that they were actually headlining it instead of Wednesday 13 because it was a Wednesday 13 show. So you would think he would be the headliner, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm pissed off and I'm drunk and not my finest moment, but I'm sitting there and like, you know, you could tell that Wednesday 13, like they were playing their asses off. They put on a hell of a show, but you could kind of tell he was a little irritated. And so this guy is standing next to me, and I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, apparently In This Moment's here, and apparently they're the headliners instead of Wednesday 13. But if you look at the ticket, it says Wednesday 13 right here on the ticket. Nowhere on here does it say In This Moment. And I was just going off, right? And this guy's like, oh, you know, they're pretty good, though. I think I like them. I'm like, man, they suck. You know, I'm sitting there, I'm like, that chick just looks like a big Coke person. I didn't say person, but and then yeah, so then he was like, well, you know, hopefully you like them. I'm like, yeah, who knows? We'll see. That was the bass player. Didn't know that. Did not know that. I think that they come out and everything, and I'm looking, and I see this guy. He kind of looks at me and kind of gives me a little head nod. I'm like, huh. It was the fucking bass player. I was like, whoops.
There's been a few times I've put my foot in my mouth, and I've been called out for it once. When you get off the stage, when you're in a hurry, when you're playing, you got to move your gear. Everyone else, you're on a time frame. So I'm moving shit. People want to come up and say like, hey, good job, whatever. Some dude comes up. I knew he was from a band and some other bands had played, but I wasn't really paying attention to who was also playing because I'm sitting at our merch table or whatever. Not really. I can hear it, but I'm not watching. And dude comes up and gives you the knucks. He's like, "You guys killed it, bro." There's like, "Yeah, you guys did a good job too." He's like, "We haven't even played." I was like, "Oh, oops." Yeah, sorry about that guy. But it tends to happen quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
Tinfoil Tales is morphed into an episode of Dark Side of the Scene. Talking about music stuff.
Dark Side of the Peen.
It is part of the wrestling thing too. It could be the dark side of the
It could
ring.
be. It could be. Yeah, we could get into that.
Dark Side Tales.
When you guys want to talk about music and the watchers of music or the watchers of wrestling or whatever, let me know. I'll hop on an episode with you guys because that's all the shit.
Nah, we don't talk about it. We just watch. That's the name of the watchers.
The watchers are just it's actually just gonna be you guys watching it. It's just gonna be
that's
videos
the
of you
stream.
That's all it is.
Everyone just hanging around watching the watchers watch.
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny though.
So the game show, how did that turn out for you guys this weekend? I was trying to watch it a little bit, but I was giving my kid a bath, so it was hard to do that and pay attention to what was going on.
It was
It
killer.
was so fun.
It was one of the most fun things that we've done since we started working on Sasqwatchers. For anybody that's not familiar, we have an associate, Susie Bastille. She was in here earlier. I don't know if she still is or not, but I had posted. It is. I had posted about wanting to create new, exciting content and just throw some ideas out. And she's just
trying to do something different,
throwing random stuff. And she ended with game show. And this, as soon as I saw the suggestion, it clicked. I was like, okay. As far as the paranormal community goes, there's never been a game show. So that sounded silly, but we need to figure out how to do it. And the cogs just started turning, and it took a couple of weeks before we could find some contestants, but she even helped with that. So a lot of the credit has to go to her for helping make it happen. But
yeah, she was a godsend.
It was tons of fun. We had 3 really knowledgeable, fun guys that came on and competed. She kept score for us. JC and I took turns reading all of the questions that I had created that day, and it was just trivia. And we're gonna do it at least once a month moving forward. So if anybody's interested, you can go and you can watch it. It was a live stream, but obviously it's still there on the channel. The background that you see right now is one that I had made for the show. I did everything that I could to create the pomp and circumstance of you're watching like a 70s or 80s game show. So we have backgrounds. I had fake commercials.
Oh, the commercials are great. Yeah.
So we ran trailers for our stuff during it so that we could give the guys a break, because I actually created, I think, about 70 too many questions. But yeah, man,
there was a lot of questions.
It was so much fun,
but it worked out because it was like 2 hours, like by the dot. And then when we hit 2 hours, we were like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we got to get into final.
Maybe I'll try and get in on one of these. Next time you guys do it, I'll be a contestant.
Oh, for sure. It's so fun.
I'm gonna be dressed out in bling. I'm gonna have nothing but big gold chains on it, a bunch of rings, and a cane.
All right, turn.
I've been wanting to do like full on actual in character stuff for it too. Like my original plan was to kind of look like Bob Barker and have like the Bob Barker microphone and everything, but for taking a couple of weeks to plan, when the day came to do it, it came faster than I expected. So I didn't really have time to do all of the extra stuff that I'll start slipping in. Maybe I'll have like this silly wig or just whatever we can do to just have fun with it, because that's something that kind of disappeared from the paranormal community. You're not allowed to have fun, and then if you have a different opinion, then you get locked in a box and they throw you in a river.
It's gotten so serious. It's not even like fun anymore. Like there was, when we came into this, it was all meant to be fun, right? Like we didn't come into this saying, hey, we're Sasquatchers, we want to make money, give us your money. That wasn't
Yeah.
what we came into this for. We came into this to have fun. Drew and I went like, aside from like his wedding a couple years ago, we didn't really see each other or talk for what, 10, 12, 13 years. And then all of a sudden we reconnected and we started this podcast, and we just did it to like reunite and have fun. And we made the documentary, the Melonhead documentary, and then we just kind of went from there. And this all goes back to Drew's idea. This is, we had other people involved, it didn't work out, and then ended up it was just Drew and myself. And the whole point of this was just like, we were friends, let's reconnect. And Drew's driven out here to my house 4.5 hours from where he lived to film a documentary in like 12 hours. He came out here in the afternoon and we filmed an entire documentary in 6 hours. And then he went home the next morning.
In between the two big snowstorms.
And the two biggest snowstorms of the year, right? And it was just, and I mean, like, I'm just saying this because like this is meant to be fun, right? Like this isn't, I mean, there are serious points. There are very serious things involved with the paranormal now, but like there are so many people out there that just want to like get like V-Bucks. They want to get their virtual dollars, their grift. They want to get those hey chats for $10 or whatever they might be. And that's cool. Like, I'm not against that, but that's not what we're about.
No one donates to me.
We were actually called rude for turning a donation down during,
we did. Yep.
during the game show. Someone had asked about it and they wanted to make donations, and I very politely was like, hey, that's kind of not that's not our thing.
Sharon.
And that's appreciate the sentiment, but if you are enjoying this, just enjoy it, watch it, keep it on in your background. Like, we're just here for the fun. And I received messages the next day that this person was parading around, bad mouthing us and calling us rude, and it said that we don't know how to operate a show and stuff. And it was amusing because like the culture, especially for live streaming, has now been created as such that there's a relationship. You have your streamer and you have your chatters, and the streamer needs, exactly. The streamers need to set those chatters up so that they're going to donate. And the only way to do that is to make them feel special, right? So it's almost like this little brainwashing that exists. And once those donations start coming, they feel important. They feel like they're part of the show. It's now a community thing. It's communal. So moving forward, that's the relationship between that creator and the audience. And that's great for those people. But because that's not the way we operate, they kind of don't know how to handle us on a live show. We're just kind of there, like we said, for the fun. Artistic integrity comes first and foremost to me. I put on a game show. Nobody else has ever put on a paranormal game show. It went 2 hours. It was extremely popular. It was extremely fun. And it's okay that somebody didn't like us because we didn't make him feel special by taking his money. But that's not our grind, and that's just never going to be our thing.
I've said it on, I don't know if I said it on my show or I know I've posted it on the Facebook, but there's a lot of weird gatekeeping I've noticed within these communities. And there's a lot of self-proclaimed experts. And if you have a difference of opinion, you're labeled as wrong. And there's a lot of infighting and arguing. Like, it literally makes it to where no one wants to be involved in these type of communities, because say you have an experience and you go onto one of these groups or whatever and you mention what happened to you, you're going to get picked apart by a lot of people because it doesn't line up to what they think. Were they fucking there? Like, if Bryce would have come on there and told us this stuff, he gets on one of these groups, they're going to be like, well, that's not what it was. It had to be this. How would you feel if someone told you what you saw was wrong? Like, I don't just,
like you said, like, were you fucking there?
Yeah. Like, that's the stuff that drives me crazy when it comes to these types of groups, is they're toxic anymore. And then there's podcasts out there that are now just, I don't want to call them podcasts, but there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that are all about the grift, in my opinion. Like, they all pop up here and they're all wanting donations and they're all spouting off all sorts of stuff. And they're making shit up on the fly. And you see all these people donating money. If people want to donate to me, I'm not going to say no if that's what you feel like, but I'm not here for your money. I don't need your money. I never started a podcast for anyone's money. Like, I have a good job. I started this to give a place for people to come on here and talk about their experiences because I never felt like I could talk about mine. And I feel like a lot of people have lost that idea. Like, if maybe they started with good intentions, but once that money started flowing, literally it all went out the window and now everyone's in on the money. They want the money. Yeah. Like, I didn't even want to become monetized, and I was spending $85 a month just to do the damn podcast.
Yeah, it's a very expensive hobby to get into. People don't realize that. And much like bands and garage bands, there are so many of them, and they set out for this, and they have these goals, and they don't reach them, and then that's why so many podcasts fail within the first couple of months too, because they're aiming for that, and it's just the wrong way to go about it. It's, if you truly love the paranormal, then figure out a way to enjoy doing a show about the paranormal. And if money comes through that, great. Like I said, as of now, we're that's not our thing, and I just want to give people an opportunity to speak. Like Brandon just said, I also have experiences that I'm laughed at for. I won't get super into them because I believe our episode of Tinfoil that's forthcoming, I get into a lot of that, including my UFO experience. So if anybody wants to hear that, you guys can go check that out. But it's about giving people the voice, being the voice of the voiceless, and our Printify. I do tons of merch for our Printify shop, just for fun, because I like to do graphics design, and I have
number one customer.
Yeah, I have the profit margin set at 0. So if anybody buys anything,
he's not making any money off of it.
I don't see a dime on it. But that allows the lowest prices out of anybody on Printify because I'm willing to do that. So, yeah, man, it's just.
I'm listening. I'm not ignoring. Someone's asked me for a link. I'm trying to send them a link.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I'm going to have to hop off here and everything because I got to work in the morning. But Brandon, I appreciate you bringing me on, man. And JC, Drew, it was really nice meeting you guys.
Hey, Bryce, find me on Facebook. Let's talk more.
All right,
let's get you on Sasqwatchers or Wrestling Watchers.
Or Wrestling Watchers,
yeah, definitely,
100%.
All right, well, you guys have a good one, and thanks everybody for coming out to watch it.
Yep, thank you.
Take care, Bryce.
See y'all. Yep, bye.
But yeah, and just kind of follow up on that. I have another show that I'm producing that's going to go up on our channel that I think a lot of people are going to not be 100% happy with because of some of the opinion pieces that are involved in it. But I'm actually very much looking forward to kind of addressing some of the politics behind the paranormal. And, it's just another reason to continue to branch out beyond just calling ourselves Sasqwatchers, because we have just a lot of stuff that we artistically want to try to accomplish.
Yeah, there's a lot I would like to do, and I feel like what I'm doing now is basically all that I really can do. I would love to be able to do like actual documentary type stuff, like actually go to an area and film certain things. But I'd also like to be able to sit down and actually interview a person in person, like almost an interview, like an in-person interview with someone, like record it and everything else, like, and almost release like a documentary. My idea was to try and find people in my area that have also had these weird canines. I've heard from several different people now that have had the upright walking canine experiences from my area. I wish I could sit down with these people and make like a documentary of it. But I don't have that kind of time. I don't have that kind of equipment.
So. Well, What I can say is, if you have an iPhone, you have pretty much everything you need. They're fantastic for this kind of thing, especially on the go documentary style. As long as you get like a lapel mic or something like that, they're actually
Man, we have these
incredible.
these $30 lapel mics that actually ended up being one of the greatest pieces of equipment we ever had.
Yeah, they're actually fantastic for it. So
For $30,
you know,
hell yeah.
you don't need to have red cameras to accomplish this, especially something like a documentary. They don't have to be pristine and look amazing. And it's just I think if you found the time, I think you'd be able to pull it off. It's a lot easier than it.
Or just come out here and stumble around the woods with Drew and I for a while.
Yeah, 'cause we're working on documentaries now.
Yeah.
We have a bunch over the summer that we're multiple.
Drew has a big one.
Yeah. Working on a pale crawler documentary that may or may not merge with a larger project that I've been in discussions with an individual about. But regardless of how that goes, I'm still working on that. We have we grew up, and this is another reason to kind of branch out. We grew up near a town called Apollo, Pennsylvania. And in Apollo, Pennsylvania, they had a nuclear power plant. And for years and years and years, they dumped this nuclear waste illegally all throughout Apollo. And they would dig it, dump it, threw it in the river that would travel by. And it was I want to say it was a huge story, but it was literally up until a couple of years ago still being kind of funneled and ignored.
It did end up in like big settlements eventually. Like a lot of people got money out of that, but then they died from cancer. So
yeah, so there's a large portion of this town that's all gated off, and you're not supposed to go past because of radiation. And they tried to dig it up a couple of years ago and get it out of there, but it was causing too much radiation in the atmosphere while they were digging it up and transferring it out. And they're still finding school buses that are just filled with it, that are buried 10 feet underground. And so that's another thing that we're going to try to do over the summer is go to Apollo and make a documentary about that. And very much has nothing to do with the paranormal, everything to do with how, a conspiracy can happen in a small town, and the giant financial conglomerates can ruin people's lives. I myself have an extra tooth in my mouth, and I always wondered if it was because of growing up near this polluted area, if I somehow am affected by that. But
probably you mutant.
Yeah, I'm literally a mutant because of these people. My dad worked there for a little bit, and he died of cancer at 47. So if you have a topic that grips you and you feel like you want to get that filmed, you'll make it happen.
Like I said, for me, it's all about the timing. Between work, trying to podcast, trying to be a dad, trying to be a husband, trying to do all this other stuff, it's really hard to find the time. And that's why my podcast, I don't even record till like 9 o'clock, because usually at that point everyone goes to bed.
Yeah. That's
so. It's the struggle, but it's a sacrifice I do. And again, like, not to go off on a tirade here, but like we talk off air, and I'm not gonna name drop people or anything, but like there was just so many shady things that go on behind the scenes in this field, in the things that we do. And it drives me crazy. People that I've looked up to that I thought were like cool people, I've realized they're not. Like people I've tried to work with, tried to reach out to. Very, very, a lot of gatekeeping. And I feel like to relate this back to wrestling, everyone wants that spot. They're all driving for that top spot. They want to be the top
Right,
guy.
the
They
high
gotta keep-
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the politics. Everyone's backstage politicking. That's literally how I feel that goes on in almost any aspect of what we do.
It
Like,
is.
there's- No matter where you're at, there's always those people. So,
Yeah, that's a great comparison too. Because I was in the business and I saw that firsthand. And something that I've said multiple times is this paranormal field. It makes it look like kindergarten. Like
Mhm.
it's insane how aggressive the politics are with this field, even compared to something as devastatingly terrible as the pro wrestling business. Like
Oh, it's
something
insane.
that should be the most carny thing doesn't even compare to paranormal at all.
no. Like I said, anyone that knows me knows I'm not about that lifestyle. I'm not about out here to turn profit or anything that I'm doing. Like whatever money I end up generating from these ads or whatever that ends up being on the show, it's literally being used to basically pay for the podcast. I'm not out here making money left and right. It's not what that's about. I have a really good job. That's what I do during the day. And this is just my outlet since I don't do music anymore.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much the same for us. We're not making any money. Drew and I both have pretty decent jobs. And this is just what we do a couple nights a week, right?
Yeah. It's like my new hobby. I want to talk to people that have had strange experiences like I did because it helps me not feel so crazy about my own experiences.
Right. I've never really had experiences, so I'm kind of just taking it all in, learning it, from it. And then on top of that, like it's a hobby, but at the same time, like we do research too, right? So it's not just us jumping on here and having an interview. We've done hours and hours of research as well. So it's almost like a second part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, JC does like talking to strange men on the internet. He does it so often.
Hey, Scrange. What is Scrange?
You know what that is.
Yeah. All right, Susie, I see you.
He's out
Wait,
talking around for some
time.
strange.
Yeah, we have an interview coming up on Tuesday that I'm reading 2 books for. Like I have to finish a book and a half of reading before this show on Tuesday. We take it very seriously. I think that you're able to do that and also still have fun with something.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think another thing that really sets us apart when these people talk to us. And I'll toot my own horn in the sense that when people are done with us, they are always really happy and want to come back as soon as possible. I've never had an interview go south or negative, and people just tend to really enjoy our company. And I think that's just
His wife can't say the same, but yes.
Right. That's why I also have to record so late.
No. It happens. It comes with the territory of podcasting, I've realized. So, well, guys, we can probably about wrap this one up.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure talking with you guys again. I'm sure we will continue to talk because I don't have too many podcasting buddies that I get to talk to.
Draw me into that. I left out. I'm not very talkative sometimes, so you have to kind of poke and prod me a little bit. But Brandon, it's been awesome. I appreciate you bringing us on, and always look forward to talking to you now and in the future.
Yep, I will definitely be in touch again. And like I said, Drew and I have been talking pretty much every day since we had those interviews. But, well, anyone out there still listening, thanks for checking out another episode of Tinfoil Tales After Dark. Make sure to go and check out Sasqwatchers, the new Watchers Podcast Networks. They're going to have a lot of awesome shows coming out there. And remember to keep on listening to Tinfoil Tales. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday, and every Thursday, or every last Thursday of the month, there will be Tinfoil Tales After Dark with a new guest and a new co-host for the evening. And that's going to be exclusively on the YouTube to watch live, because I'm not going to piss around with Facebook anymore because StreamYard sucks. So, thanks StreamYard for nothing. And on that note, good night, everyone.